During this time of limited travel, increased isolation, and stressful media, we want to make the most of this time right here at home.
Let us be your escape from life's monotony. Allow yourself to indulge in your wildest travel fantasies and discover the constant beauty of this ever-changing world with the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. On today's episode, we're going to learn all about the beauty and culture of Italy with a very special guest, Juliana Joyce.
Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We are your navigators, Allison Endries
and Regan Todd. And today we'll be discovering the beauty and culture of Italy through a little bit of a different kind of lens. For today's episode, we have a very special guest, Juliana Joyce. She'll be joining us to give us the scoop about her experience studying abroad in Italy. So before we get to this super exciting interview that we have planned for you, of course, we're going to do our little icebreaker. So Allie, today's question is, what movie do you wish you could watch again for the first time?
All right, you're going to appreciate this as a Disney fan, but I chose Up. It's a very emotional movie, but it is just love it so much, even though it makes me cry. I just would love to watch it for the first time again. But
Those
how about
are some
you,
of the
Regan?
best movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, speaking
seriously.
of movies that make you cry, I would love to be able to watch the Toy Story series for the first time again, especially now that I'm older and I can kind of identify with every point of life that Andy goes through with those movies and the toys.
Yep.
I just there's something about Pixar movies that they just make you want to cry, and it's the best,
Yeah, definitely. You can't go wrong with a Disney movie.
So true. All right. Well, that wraps up our icebreaker. So we're going to get right into it. I'd love to introduce you to a really great friend of mine. Felt like a roommate because we were always hanging out together in everyone's rooms. But bridesmaid in my wedding, Juliana Joyce. Juliana, also known as Jules, has a passion for social justice, being outside, doing yoga, and traveling. She has been to several United States, mostly through service retreats, and began her journey to international travel during her semester abroad in Italy in the spring of 2018. Most recently, Jules has traveled to Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville, Tennessee with her incredible roommate and fellow travel soulmate. And I can attest to that. These two are like peas in a pod like you've never seen before. In college, when I got to know Jules, she majored in music therapy with a minor in Italian. So that kind of is a good segue into why we're here today. And right now, she is a music therapist based in Rochester, New York, working with neurodivergent kiddos in schools, and she's amazing. The work that she does is just incredibly inspirational to me, and I encourage you, if you ever had the chance to meet her, that you would just soak in her enthusiasm for what she does. It's really inspirational. From February to June of 2018, Jules studied abroad in Pescara, Italy. And she'll be able to pronounce things much better than I will. But then a few fun facts about Jules, so you can get to know her like you're kind of getting to know us too. She's currently into rock climbing and acro yoga. She's like a boss babe at all of it. And also, fun fact, she's late to almost every event that is non-work related. And she has perfect pitch, which is few and far between to be found. So welcome, Jules. We're so glad to have you.
It's so great to be here with both of you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll just hop right into our first question here. So what made you choose to study abroad in Italy, and what was your process like to confirm that you were approved to go?
So I literally remember dreaming since I was a little kid, talking to one of my childhood best friends about going to Italy and being abroad. We were both looking up pictures of where our families are from. I am part Italian American, and I strongly identified with the culture, and I just wanted to explore it for myself. And as for the process, there are a lot of steps in place. I had to know before I even walked on campus that I wanted to study abroad, because being a music therapist, we have a lot of moving parts in our program. But I really lucked out because where I went to school, my advisor was like, well, this will be tricky, but we'll work with you. So if you're going to study abroad, make sure you talk to your advisor like right off the bat and take courses. I took a lot of courses through community colleges as well, just to help supplement. But yeah, make sure you have all of those ducks in a row. And then definitely when you go to the consulate to get your visa, like triple, quadruple check that checklist, because there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a great tip.
Yeah, so moving on to the next one, can you give us a little bit of an overview of your study abroad experience, like how long you were there for, where did you stay, what was your schedule like?
Sure. So I was there for about 4 months. So actually, what's wild, 4 years ago yesterday is when I flew over to Italy, which is really cool.
Oh, perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. And I stayed in an apartment with a few other American students. And my schedule was super light, which was nice because that never happened in my major, but I was able to take a lot of courses to fulfill my minor. So a lot of like Italian language courses, and like I had like one-to-one tutoring like twice a week, which was super nice and helpful. But yeah, I had almost no classes on Mondays, which made traveling really awesome. But typically like a couple of courses during the day, and I did take voice lessons for a bit over there. So a little bit of everything. It was great.
That's awesome. So we kind of touched base on your minor there in Italian, but how did this placement combine your major with your Italian heritage?
I lucked out because in Pescara, they don't only have a university, they have a conservatory of music, which has a music therapy program. So my professors were able to help connect me at the conservatory, and I did a semester of practicum, or like a clinical placement. I had studied the language before going over there, was not fluent, still not fluent, but seeing music therapy in that culture and like speaking the language of my ancestors, it was just so incredible. And it made me realize that even if I wasn't fluent in the language, we can still connect through music. And that was really special.
Music is always such a important part of any culture. It's like the universal language almost. So that kind of leads us into our next section.
Yeah, so we kind of touched upon this a little bit, but can you tell us about the connections that you made with some of the local people?
Yes, so in studying the language and speaking it, like I said, I don't claim to be fluent in Italian, but you get to really know the language by putting yourself out there in your daily interactions. So I'd have a favorite barista at the little coffee bar who would just be really sweet with me and really friendly. And my co-partner, Francesca, who was my clinical co-facilitator, like we still message every now and then. She's just really awesome. But yeah, I think like that kind of immersive experience, you create these really beautiful, long lasting bonds because you're in such a unique and isolating situation, but you can build a community around yourself at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I know, well, this is all about you, but I did an experience for 2 weeks in Bolivia, and just connecting with the local people just is a totally different experience compared to any tourist kind of things I've done before. So I think it's really important that you were connected with the local people in your time there.
Yeah. And I actually, based on what you just said, I have a question. If I can pop
Definitely.
in here for a second. Tell us about the coffee in Italy.
Oh, I miss it. I was so coffee to go is literally not a thing. I made that mistake. Like as soon as I landed in the Rome airport, I asked for a coffee to go and they looked at me like, what? Because Italian coffee, it's just a little shot of espresso. It's super concentrated. And in Italy, they actually have bars that people stand at and you get your little coffee. It doesn't take your cafe. And then you go about your day. They don't have these huge to-go things for coffee. So I remember on my flight back from Italy, they gave me American coffee. I was like, oh, this is like water. Give me something stronger.
Wow. I know. Yeah. So different from American coffee where it's like the taller, the better.
So how would you say that Italian culture is different from American culture?
Italians really love to enjoy all aspects of life. They work hard, but they play hard and rest hard too. I think what I really enjoyed seeing from like before everything would shut down, families would get together and have lunch together. Students wouldn't have classes. Like there was just that pause in the day. And then even there's so many national holidays that I had no idea about, but like everything shut down again and families would just be out walking. I lucked out Pescara was a beach town. So there would be so many people like just walking along the coast or just like really enjoying life. Whereas in the States, it's a very go, go, go hustle culture and you don't see those pockets of rest valued as much.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's always go, go, go here, and I'm longing for to be a European and just be able
Yeah.
to relax and,
Yeah.
not be running around all the time. This might be the most important question of the night, but is the food as wonderful as we hear it is?
Yes. Everything is so fresh. Oh my goodness. The pizza, you get a personal pizza just for you for like 6, 7 euros, which is nothing, with like fresh cheese. Oh my goodness. The wine too is incredible.
Ooh,
Like, oh my
sign me
gosh.
up.
Yeah, it is. The hype is real. The bread too. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. Clearly I went for the health food groups when I was there, but not the vegetables I did eat were pretty fresh too, and the fruits. But yeah,
Hey, you only had
I
4 months. You had to take full advantage.
I had to eat as much Italian pizza and pasta as I could. Okay. It's not the same.
Have you found anywhere in the United States that is close to it? Or is it literally just like unmatched?
Like a local restaurant could give you a similar kind of vibe. And actually, fun fact, Tecaco, I might have pronounced that wrong, but the pasta brand is like blue with like yellow on the sides. It's actually based in Pescara. So if you get that kind of pasta, it's Pescara pasta. So do that. Do yourself a
That
favor.
is a fun fact. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
I have to ask about the meatballs because I went to Italy like I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, and we just wanted like an Italian meatball, and they're like, we don't really make meatballs here. That's more of like an American thing. So did you find that in the region that you were in as well? Because we were more in like the touristy area.
Yeah, so meatballs, like anything with more like red meat or like that kind of like heartiness, is an Italian American manifestation of the culture and the food, because we're full blooded. Like my mom's full blood Italian. We have say sauce and meatballs all the time, but like it's not a thing over there. They really adhere to the Mediterranean diet. So they eat lots of seafood and lots of vegetables, and they do have their pasta, like everything in moderation, right? But yeah, like the heavier like red meats really aren't a thing over there, unless like you're having like prosciutto like on like for your aperitivo or like on your pizza. Like that's pretty much it.
I love that you're bringing so much Italian language into this. I'm here for it. And that meatball example is kind of a great one to use for this next question that I really want to make sure we get to. So, are there any myths or stereotypes that we in the United States have that were debunked for you during your time in Italy, or that are completely just, we have it wrong?
Hmm. Well, I will say, and like I said, I know Italian American culture is different than Italian culture, but Italians do talk with their hands a lot. Like that's just a fact. Like it's so cool to like speak with them because they're so expressive, and their cadence is like very song like when they're speaking. Trying to think. I think it's mostly distinguishing like what's Italian American versus like what's Italian. Like I feel like Italian Americans fall into the more of the American category in like they're very, very hardworking, whereas Italians aren't, not that they're not very hardworking, but they have that balance of that work-life balance. But yeah, Italians aren't like the Sopranos. like, um, like Mussolini, like an anti-fascism movement in like the 1940s, there was obviously like resistance. And when communism was coming to play in the 60s, there was some like mafia and like gang like stuff, but like modern Italy, that's not really a thing.
That's great. Awesome. Well, so moving on a little bit, thanks so much for sharing a bit about the cultural experience that you had. So now we really want to dive into like specifically Jules' experiences. So can you tell us a bit about some of your very favorite memories from your time in Italy?
Oh, there's so many. One of the most special moments was when I saw the Adriatic Sea for the first time. It was the end of February. Like I've been wanting to see it. It'd been really cold. And then my roommate and I, we just walked to the beach because it was like 15 minutes away, and just seeing it, even though it was too cold to go in, it was just beautiful. The water is so blue. And I became really close with the people who I studied abroad with. They were from all different countries. I had friends from Croatia and Greece, in Spain and Austria, and just we became an international family, which was really beautiful. I loved traveling. have a travel bug like real bad. So having that sense of independence and being like, I can just go to Rome for the weekend by myself because it's like literally 12 euros to hop on a bus to Rome, like have my Lizzie McGuire moment. And it was just, yeah. So a lot of the travel
are made of.
seriously, the entire time I was in Rome, I was like, hey now.
I can picture that. That's great.
Yeah, very Jules like.
Yeah. I also seem to remember you telling us, or I saw a video about you singing somewhere special.
Yeah, that was at Teatro Massimo in Sicily. My roommate and I took a tour, and they said like the center spot like was architecturally designed to have the best sound. And a couple of people stood in the middle. I was like, okay, I have a couple of Italian arias up my sleeve. So I'm like, we're gonna just go for it. And that was just so cool. It was a very cool experience.
So since you were there for about 4 months, did you do like a lot of traveling? And if so, like what are some of your favorite places that you visited?
Yeah, I did a pretty decent amount of traveling because it's just so much more accessible in Europe. Hands down, my favorite places were Rome. Just all of the rich history was so incredible. Like you're walking down the street and you're like, oh, there's 2000 plus years of history. Am I right? There's the Colosseum. Hello. Venice was magical. I really enjoyed Venice. Florence is touristy, but it's so beautiful. The architecture and the views. I did go to Sicily for a couple of days, which is where part of my family is from. And that was, oh my goodness, that was just so special. That was like a spiritual experience for me. Where else? I went to Naples a couple of times as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed every place I went to, but I think my favorites were Sicily and Venice.
Yeah, how would you say that your time in Italy has impacted your life now that you're back in the States?
Italy was hugely transformational for me. As I had mentioned earlier, I had a lot more free time. Like I was at a much lesser course load. So I had more free time and just more time to breathe. And exercise is something I really enjoy. I actually joined an all women's gym there called Palestra Mia. I learned in Italy, like not to take life so seriously and that life is too short to care what others think of you. Like, whether it's like, oh man, like I wish I was like a little like lighter, or like for anyone who has like body dysmorphia or like that kind of stuff. I was like, you know what? I am in Italy for 4 months. I don't know when I'm coming back. I am gonna eat the damn bomba con crema. Okay. Like I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna love it. And if
Yes, you
anyone has a
are.
problem, that's on them. So just really having that mindset of like doing what feels good to me, but also just learning to rest. It's okay to rest and have like a work-life balance.
Stop and smell the roses, like that classic cliche phrase, but that seems to kind of sum up the essence of Italian culture almost. Like, would you say that's accurate?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, especially living that close to a beach. Like, come on. Like I was a 10 walk from the beach. Of course, I'm gonna stop at the beach after class and just relax. Or like I did do some studying on the beach, but like you just gotta take it in, like watch the sunset. Like I was fortunate in my apartment, I had a balcony. Like there was a beautiful view of the mountains, and there were just gorgeous. The sunrises and sunsets were so stunning. So just taking that time to linger and really take it all in that's something I still try to carry with me today, but like definitely a big takeaway from the trip.
Wow.
That sounds
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, I need to relax
more Italy in my life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you did a lot while you were there, but if and when you return, what are some things that you didn't get to do that you want to make sure you do?
I want to go to Cinque Terre so bad. In the process of booking a trip, because Cinque Terre, it translates to 5 earths. It's the beautiful coastal town with all of the gorgeous colored houses. So I definitely want to go there and hike and go swimming. I'd love to spend more time in Sicily as well. I'd love to hike Mount Etna and just have more time and like maybe actually go to Palermo, like San Giuseppe Palermo, where my family's really from. And then Puglia is really beautiful. That's trying to picture the boot in my head. It's like the heel of the boot. So yes, I am going back. I need to save money, but we are going to go back.
Yes. Well, I'm also currently in the process of saving for a trip to Italy, so maybe we'll cross paths.
If you need a translator, let me know. I'm not fluent.
Yes, I will take you up on that, or at least Italian lessons.
Okay. See.
So that leads us into like our couple of last questions.
Yeah, so what do you wish you had known before making your trip across the pond? Like maybe some things that you wished you would have packed, or maybe you packed too much. Maybe should you research some things you learned, stuff like that.
I think, and I'm definitely glad I did research this ahead of time. I have an aunt who's been there a couple of times. Get a good pair of walking shoes because you will be walking a lot and it's great, but make sure you have a pair of shoes that are super comfortable and support your feet. I think there's so many great resources to save money on travel that I kind of like stumbled upon after like booking some trips, like not the best. I was like, oh, I paid like too much for this, or like, oh, I should have done like taken a Flixbus instead of that. So like definitely like look up public transit because it is so cheap to pay for like a bus ride in Italy, where by the way, they'll make you a little cafe on some of the buses, which I love to like pay for the cafe, or the train is super reliable too. Like there are so many different ways to travel like efficiently and effectively. And I think if you're going to fly, Ryanair is really cheap. So I definitely recommend that because they have flights like as low as like $30. So just definitely research, like if you have friends who are in Italy, like reach out to them, or just like find those resources of like travel, like when within Italy, just so you can start like planning ahead. But yeah, good pair of walking shoes, know how to travel locally. And just, I think it is really important wherever you go to at least try to learn some of the language in your day-to-day interactions. Even if it's not perfect, everyone was so sweet with me because like I said, I'm not fluent, and textbook Italian is very different from in practice with a dialect, like in real time. But everyone was so sweet and like patient with me, and they'd be like, parli bene Italiano. I was like, I don't think I speak it very well, but thank you. Thanks for boosting my confidence. But that's just such a huge like cultural gift. Like it shows that you're really invested in the culture and really appreciative, and you want to put the effort in to show that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all those tips. So I just want to wrap it up. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend a visit to Italy for anyone listening?
1,000 out of 10.
Awesome.
How did
Sign
I
me up
know
right
that
now.
The most extra response.
Well, as we're coming to the end here, is there anything in English or Italian that you would like to say to our listeners to wrap up?
In bocca di lupo, which means in the mouth of the wolf, but that's their way of saying good luck. So don't just say buona fortunata, like say in bocca di lupo.
In bocca di lupo. How was that?
Close. That was good.
We'll practice.
Yeah.
We'll practice. And then the response to that is crepi, which means cracks. So it's a whole like legend thing. It was supposed to be short, and now I'm expanding on it like a bunch. But yeah, that's how you say good luck. Crepi.
Crepi.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you said crepe. Maybe I'm just hungry, but I thought you said crepe.
It does sound like, and that's the word I think is spelled crepi. It originated in like the 1700s. Like that phrase is like they're kind of an equivalent of like break a leg, like in the mouth of the wolf, and then you say like crack, like yeah.
Another fun fact, even as we're wrapping up. I love it so much. Well, Jules, thank you so much for being with us. I know I learned so much, and I hope all of our listeners learned a lot too. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for having me. I love podcasts, and this was so fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again next Tuesday morning. Give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until we chat next week, wander on.